The long legs went up and down like blades, making sounds like metal. Every exchange made the heart of the audience tremble. It was hard to imagine that it was just a simulated fight. The majority of killer kicks was common skills, so the focus was on mentality rather than techniques. Only 7 kicks of killer kicks were exceptions, which were called 7 kill by Lu Bin. The 7 kicks were almost finished in one moment without any pause. One should manage to kick 7 times in one breath. It was extremely pleasing to look at, like a battle axe splitting the earth. Boom. Han Sen was unable to block 7 kill and fell back immediately. His health went down significantly, almost reaching the bottom instantaneously. Victory! Wang Daking was excited, and others started to cheer already. However, the cheers only lasted a second. A soldier on worship was already on the ground suddenly stood up. His health bar was almost empty, with only a hair left. The number was down to 2%. Great leg skills. What's the name of it? Han Sen asked Lu Bin seriously. 7 kill. Lu Bin laughed and said, "This is my very best work. It is impressive that you could block 6 kicks. 7 kill, noted." Staring at Lu Bin, he said slowly, "Let's do this one more time." "As you wish." Lu Bin could no longer resist the murderous urge. He dashed and jumped up with no hesitation, kicking at Han Sen as if his leg was the battle axe that splitted heaven and earth. Han Sen did not move, his eyes fixed on Lu Bin. When the kick was about to fall on his head, Han Sen suddenly moved. A magnificent step. Using Sparticle, Han Sen made an incredibly fast step. 7 kill. Han Sen exclaimed, jumping up like Lu Bin did and kicked at his opponent. The strength of the kicks from above was too strong for even Lu Bin, the inventor of 7 kill. After taking 5 takes, Lu Bin could hardly lift his legs. The stubbornness of the veteran made him raise his arms, trying to block the 2 last kicks with his teeth gritted. Boom boom. With 2 loud sounds, Han Sen's last 2 kicks were also blocked by Lu Bin. However, Lu Bin's arms were broken in the process and fell limp. The 8th kick, gasped Wang Daking. The reason 7 kill was called that was because after 7 kicks, one's force would be used up and there would be nothing left to make the 8th kick. However, a soldier on warship kicked the 8th times in the air, which was unbelievable. Not only Wang Daking, but all those who had seen and learned 7 kill knew it was impossible to make the 8th kick, because there was no way for one to leverage on anything in the air. Who is he? Everyone was staring at a soldier on warship, who gradually faded away and left the gladiator platform. The audience could hardly contain themselves. They were either Lu Bin's friends or his students, so they all knew how hard 7 kill were. Many people could not even accomplish 7 kill, let alone the unbelievable 8th kill. The reason that Han Sen could make the 8th kick was not that he was better at 7 kill than Lu Bin. In fact, in terms of 7 kill, Han Sen was still weaker. The reason was simply that Han Sen had studied 7 twists of the chens, which allowed one to leverage on the air for 7 times if one practiced it well. Han Sen had seen 7 twists used by Chen Zichen and Zhu Ting and was very interested in that martial arts. However, Han Sen did not find anything similar after a lot of research. In the end, he found a way to leverage on the air briefly. However, that cannot be compared to 7 twists at all. Han Sen was only able to accomplish that based on his understanding of 7 twists, which was his limit already. In fact, Han Sen really wanted to learn 7 twists, but the family secret like this was so hard to get his hands on. After traveling through half of the Alliance and spaceship, Han Sen arrived at Galaxy Dongyan. When he saw Daphne at a space harbor, Han Sen was dazed. Initially, Han Sen believed that since even a soldier of its cookhouse was a major, Daphne should at least be an advanced warship, if not the best in the Alliance. However, the Daphne he saw was more like a corvette. Although it looked advanced, it did not possess the same size a main ship did. The interior space of Daphne was indeed luxurious, equipped with lots of devices that Han Sen did not recognize. Only when he saw the incredible warframes assigned to the soldiers on board, Han Sen knew the place was unusual. All ordinary soldiers were equipped with military super-biological warframes made by the renowned Digging. The military line was much better than the civil line. These warframes were on the same level as Silver Killer, and the performance of SKTS not even be compared with them. And these warframes were already the worst on board. New soldier Han Sen is here to report to the cookhouse. Han Sen saluted to the squad leader of the cookhouse. The squad leader was around 30 years old and quite fat. He was almost as wide as he was tall. Han Sen felt that was the perfect expression to describe him. Have you learned to cook before? I have only learned how to deal with the meat of creatures briefly at school, sir, answered Han Sen. The cookhouse is not like other places, so you could relax a little bit. The entire staff of the cookhouse were easygoing. Because of what they did, they were not as uptight as other soldiers and had less training as well. The mission of Daphne this time was to look for a remnant of crystallizer civilization. Before humans even entered the interstellar era, the crystallizers had built an empire in the universe. They used to be the master of a dozen galaxies, but they eventually became extinct for some reasons no one knew. People could only feel how great they were from the relics they left behind. After a couple of days, Hansen had become friends with the soldiers of the cookhouse. When he was taking a break, he saw the fat squad leader holding his comlink watching a video, and felt curious. What else other than the video of 8 Kill? Our fatty has a grand vision. He would love to become a fatty who could fly, Vice Squad leader Liu Mingling joked. What 8 Kill? Hansen glanced at the video and couldn't help opening his mouth, because the video the fat squad leader was watching was exactly the fight between Liu Bin and himself. F#K off. I just want to learn killer kicks, grunted the fat squad leader. Seeing his round body and short legs, Hansen could not imagine what it would look like if fat squad leader jumped in the air to make 7 kicks. Hansen had not been to the warship for long, so he had not met the captain yet. Taking the document to the captain's cabin, Hansen had been wondering who it was. In order to become a captain of such a high-level warship, one had to be at least a general, even though this warship was not that big. This is the nutrition plan for next month, and we need the captain's signature. Hansen came to the sanctuary's desk and showed her the document. Sure, the captain had told me about it. She's busy right now, so you can just go ahead and put the file there. The secretary checked the document and said to Hansen. Okay, Hansen replied, turned around and walked to the captain's cabin with the document in his hand. He knocked on the door, but there was no one answering. Since the secretary told him to put it inside, Hansen pushed the door open and entered the room. However, after the door was pushed open, Hansen saw someone leaning against the desk opposite the door smiling at him. Hansen was suddenly dumbstruck and then became overjoyed. He shut the door close, threw the document away, dashed to the person, and held her tightly in his arms. Oh my god, I am not dreaming, right? How? Why are you here? Hansen was so excited that he did not even know what he was talking about. He did not imagine that he would meet Jai Yanran at this place. Jai Yanran, who was wearing white captain's suit, was standing right there, gorgeous as always, but more handsome than when she was a student. I'm sorry, I brought you here without your consent, and I could only arrange for you to become a soldier in the cookhouse. However, this is everything I could do. Although I know it's not fair to you, I could not stand another day without you being close to me. I am selfish and wanton, but would you forgive me? Jai Yanran threw her arms around Hansen's neck and hung herself on him like a koala bear, her tone full of guilt and love. I love that you are selfish and wanton. Hansen quickly kissed her on the lips and spanked her ass a little. Jai Yanran's face became pink. Embarrassed, she said, don't mess around. There is a surveillance camera here. No way, there is a surveillance camera in the captain's cabin. Hansen said incredulously. Jai Yanran blinked and said, Daphne is warship that carries out exploration missions. Even as the captain, I do not have the absolute power. In fact, I am only in a supportive role. Those who are really in charge are the experts and scholars on crystallizer civilization. So, you're just a driver of a flying bus, Hansen said, not letting Jai Yanran go. She did not mind people watching. He did not care because it was more than natural for him to kiss and hug his wife. Jai Yanran curled her lips and said, that's one way to put it. My main mission is to send the scholars and experts to their destination, provide them with staff members and help. When it comes to excavation and fieldwork, it is completely up to the experts. You should have heard that the mental power of crystallizers is so powerful that they could control objects with their mind. Jai Yanran thought about it and said, I've heard something about it. Hansen asked curiously again, is that all true? Maybe, I don't know for sure. But one thing was certain, crystallizers have many crystal technologies. The most commonly seen is a sort of memory crystal. Humans with strong mental power could put their memory inside the memory crystal and read from it. That is much more advanced than our AI, Jai Yanran explained. Hansen knew that Jai Yanran would never harm himself, so he put the crystal on his forehead, ready to perceive anything. The next second, Hansen suddenly felt electricity was generated from the crystal and penetrated his scope, making his brain a bit numb, which scared him into taking the crystal away from his forehead. Jai Yanran took a file from her desk and placed it in front of Hansen. She turned the pages over quickly and asked Hansen to look at the contents. After going through the entire file, she closed the file and put it back, asking, what is the 6th word on the 3rd line of page 13? You were so fast. How could I possibly? As Hansen was about to say how could he possibly remember, he suddenly had the memory of that page in his mind. He remembered clearly that the 6th word of the 3rd line was black. How is that possible? Is it the crystal? Han Sen looked at the purple crystal in surprise. These must be highly confidential. Is it okay you're telling me? Han Sen asked Jai Yanran. These are indeed confidential, and you do not have the clearance yet. However, you're my boyfriend and I am no selfless captain, just a woman. But don't tell anyone about these, otherwise I would be in trouble. Jai Yanran spit out her little tongue. Didn't you say there is a surveillance camera? How dare you play me? You are so done. Han Sen suddenly understood that he was played by Jai Yanran, grabbed her, held her down to the desk and spanked her hard. I did not lie to you. There is really a surveillance camera. It's just I turned it off temporarily. I know you would be so promiscuous. Trying to ignore the sensation on her ass, Jai Yanran whispered. Alright, I will show you how promiscuous I could be. Han Sen suddenly pulled Jai Yanran's white captain pants down. When Han Sen left the captain's cabin, he felt very refreshed and relaxed. The thought of the captain's suit and tender skin of Jai Yanran gave Han Sen an urge to return to captain's cabin and stay there forever. However, that was quite unlikely. Jai Yanran had already told Han Sen some information about Daphne. Although Jai Yanran was the captain, she was too young and inexperienced. If it were not for her family, she would not even be recognized as the captain because she was just a rookie evolver. In addition, Daphne was a special warship. There was a professor that had the same power as Jai Yanran, so she had to obey him at times. In addition, if others knew Han Sen was Jai Yanran's lover and that he was on the ship because of her, they would probably think even less of Jai Yanran, making it harder for her to stay in the management role. Han Sen knew it was not easy for Jai Yanran to get him on board, so he was unwilling to see her getting in trouble because of him. When there was no one around, they could call each other using the special comlink on board. Occasionally, they could even meet each other in secret, to which Han Sen was looking forward. Feels like a clandestine love affair. Han Sen thought to himself contentedly and started to hum a little song. Boom. Han Sen was still thinking about the romance just now. Because it was on the warship, he let his guard down completely and wasn't paying attention. As he turned around the corner, he bumped into someone immediately. Han Sen had just been through some strenuous exercise, so his legs were still limp. You're lucky that I'm in a great mood, so I will just let you off the hook for the time being. Han Sen continued to walk forward joyfully. What's wrong with you? I was talking to you. Did you not hear me? Which department are you from? The man became mad and quickly grabbed Han Sen. What does it have to do with you? Han Sen frowned and said. Although he was being careless, he was not walking fast. There was no way he would bump into someone directly. The main reason that the guy bumped into him was that the guy did not change his course at all after seeing him. Otherwise, with Han Sen's reflex, there was no way they would bump into each other so hard. You don't even look like a soldier. Stand straight. The man snorted. Whether the cookhouse soldiers look like soldiers, it is up to me instead of the Warframe department. Colonel Wang, please mind your own department's business. The fat squad leader suddenly appeared and said to the guy coldly, Colonel Luo, I can't even point it out when your soldier is bumping into people and humming songs. Is that what you're saying? Wang Hu stared at fat squad leader coldly. Yes, that's our hobby. Bite me. The fat squad leader's reply even surprised Han Sen. Wang Hu's face suddenly turned purple as he was rendered speechless. Why are you staying here? The fat squad leader said to Han Sen and took him away. Wang Hu bristled. When the fat squad leader and Han Sen walked far, Wang Hu murmured to himself, why did Jai Yanran keep a cookhouse soldier in her office for so long? If it were not for the stupid fatty, I should have fished more information. Great job, Colonel. After returning to the cookhouse, Han Sen gave the fat squad leader a thumbs up. Great my ass. I asked you to send a nutrition plan. What took you so long? The fat squad leader said, upset. After the captain reviewed the plan, she asked me a few questions. Since I'm new here, I know nothing and gave her all the wrong answers, which was why it took so long. She even scolded me a little. After that I bumped into Colonel Wang. You are such a saver to be there on time. Han Sen had thought his excuse out for a while. Do not cross Wang Hu in the future, said the fat squad leader. Thank you, Colonel. Although Han Sen was not afraid of Wang Hu, it was a troublesome situation. He was very grateful that the fat squad leader took him away. Jai Yanran had told him that everyone on Daphne had a complicated background, so he should not take anyone lightly. You are one of mine, so I will not let anyone else touch you. If you need to be disciplined, I'll be the one to do so. The fat squad leader hit Han Sen on the back and said, go do your job. Because it was about 3 months until they could reach the planet where the ruins were, Han Sen swapped a few shifts and applied to enter God's sanctuary. This time he teleported to God's sanctuary. He was still in the ice cave. This time, however, there were 7 to 8 people in the ice cave, chatting with each other. Ziyu was also there. Han Sen, what took you so long? Here, I will introduce everyone to you. Maybe it was because of the difficult living conditions. Everyone knew the benefit of help each other. The majority of the group were very easygoing and easy to talk to. Genius, you are here as well. The young man suddenly exclaimed at Han-sen. You are. Han-sen regarded the young man and found his face did not ring a bell. My name is Liu Feng. I also graduated from Blackhawk 1 year before you did. But my grades were just average, so it makes sense that you don't know me. Liu Feng smiled and said, What genius? Liu Feng, Han-sen is your schoolmate. Zuyu asked in surprise. Liu Feng told the group about Han-sen's needs at Blackhawk. After a long while, Zuyu lamented, I did not realize that you are a graduate of a top school, and even graduated as a major. You should have a much brighter future than this. This place would make it so difficult for you to go any further. Not necessarily. As long as we occupy that spirit shelter, we will have everything. Han-sen smiled and said. There was teleport device in the spirit shelter, so if they could occupy the place, they could turn that into a human shelter. All they needed to do was to withstand the attacks from creatures nearby. Young man, this is much more difficult than that. This is Second God's Sanctuary, not a military school where kids hang. You can really die here. Don't think that you are going to conquer everything because you are somebody in a military school. I will give it to you if you hunt any creature back. You don't even need to take the spirit shelter down. Genius, don't pay him any mind. He used to be quite talented and evolved with sacred Geno points maxed out but ended up here, and was trapped for nearly 20 years. He did not even have many mutant Geno points, so he had lost the will to fight, said Zuyu. Han-sen looked to the middle-aged man, surprised. A sacred evolver 20 years ago, that was much harder to achieve than a sacred evolver today. And he must be truly something. Even that kind of person became this way, which made Han-sen feel sad. The middle-aged man kept silent, squatting in the corner, taking one puff after another from the cigarette in his hand. With so many people here, why don't we go hunting? Han-sen asked. We are waiting for Uncle King. I told you last time, he was the strongest among us. If we go together with him, it will be safer. Uncle King looks after the young. I will introduce you later. You can hunt with us today, right? How come I never saw the girl from the other day? Did she give up? I'm not so sure. Han-sen knew he was talking about Zero. After Han-sen boarded Daphne, he could no longer use his private comlink to contact anyone. So Han-sen had told Zero to enter God's Sanctuary in 2 months to meet him. Han-sen did not expect to be able to enter God's Sanctuary so soon, and he had no way to tell her to come. So he will have to wait until the agreed time. I will walk around myself to get familiar with the environment first. Han-sen walked outside directly, not planning to hunt together with the rest of the group. If he made no efforts, he would not be shared the gains. If he made efforts, it would be very suspicious for someone who just evolved to have his fitness. Therefore, Han-sen decided to hunt on his own, not following the rest of the group. Haven't I told you already? You are not familiar with this place, and it's too dangerous outside. Even if you want to hunt yourself, you should follow us for a few times and go along later. Otherwise, it is truly too dangerous, said Zuyu. Han-sen knew they meant well, but he had his own concerns and did not want to waste time on meaningless stuff. I have already looked it up on the Skynet and learned something about this place. I will just take a walk and be back in a minute. When Han-sen was far from the ice cave, he summoned Meowth to run to the mountain. Before long, he suddenly heard a beast roar. A white creature with ice-like armor covering its back was growling at Han-sen and Meowth. Is this the ice-armored beast Zuyu was talking about? Han-sen gazed at the creature, which looked a lot like what Zuyu had described. As Han-sen was thinking, the ice-armored beast rushed toward Han-sen, growling. Its speed was even faster than the sacred blood beast creatures in First God's Sanctuary. Han-sen stepped back, while Meowth had already thrown itself at the ice-armored beast. The two beasts started to fight in ice and snow. Meowth only had a slight advantage, and it would take a while for Meowth to beat its opponent. Han-sen frowned secretly. The ice-armored beast was just a primitive creature, but it already had the same strength as Meowth, which was a sacred blood beast from First God's Sanctuary. Indeed, Second God's Sanctuary was not the same thing as the first. Wherever covered by the ice armor on the ice-armored beast, Meowth's claws and teeth could not penetrate. Meowth could only choose the places covered by white fur to attack, making the ice-armored beast all bloody and miserable. Meowth itself also suffered some scratches, which were not serious. Han-sen had a brief understanding about the ability of the ice-armored beast, and was ready to kill it himself. However, the ice-armored beast suddenly roared, and all its injuries started to heal quickly. In the meantime, the ice armor also spread to cover all its body. It turned into a crystal statue. Even its claws became transparent. Although it looked the same, the ice-armored beast had a completely different aura. It suddenly turned from an average beast to a super boss. Berserk. Han Sen was both surprised and overjoyed. Unlike First God's Sanctuary, some creatures could enter a berserk state in Second God's Sanctuary. The state was like the hyper-geno arts that could change the structure of body cells. In the berserk state, the structure of creatures' body cells would change significantly, enhancing the creature's strengths and ability to fight. Of course, if one were able to hunt a creature at the berserk state, the beast's soul gained would also be at the berserk state, which would be much stronger than an average beast of the same level. After its whole body was covered with ice armor, even the claws of Meowth could only leave a few shallow marks. The ice-armored beast suddenly became fearless, ignoring Meowth's attacks, going crazy and trying to devour the pet. Han Sen took Meowth back, because it was no longer the match of the berserk ice-armored beast. In addition, Han Sen wanted to try for himself how strong the berserk beast was. After losing its target Meowth, the ice-armored beast fixed its eyes on Han Sen. With a growl, it quickly ran toward Han Sen on all four hooves. When it was 50 feet from Han Sen, it suddenly jumped at him. Careful, Han Sen. A yelp came from somewhere close. A woman wearing Arctic suit started to run to Han Sen while exclaiming. Han Sen turned to look at the woman and was suddenly dazed, unable to believe his eyes. It turned out that young Manly was here as well. After she evolved, she was also randomly sent to this place. Idiot, what are you looking at? Just run. Young Manly saw that Han Sen turned to look at herself at such a critical moment and became shocked and anxious. If her shout did not save him, but harmed him, then it would be the worst thing ever. Watching the berserk ice-armored beast almost at his face, with its claws reflecting cold light, Han Sen was still staring at young Manly, which made her scared and mad. However, she could not even make it in time if she wanted to save him. At this point, young Manly regretted that she came out directly after hearing Han Sen was here as well. If she did not do that, Han Sen might be able to dodge these attacks. However, he was now doomed. She came much earlier than Han Sen did and knew how strong ice-armored beasts were. In addition, this one was a berserk beast. Even a sacred evolver could not take one blow from a berserk ice-armored beast before having his neck snapped. Watching the ice-armored beast making the attack, young Manly almost wanted to close her eyes. However, the next second, she stared her eyes wide. Han Sen was staring at her blankly but punched at the incoming berserk beast without even looking at it. The punch ended right in the beast's face. Boom. The berserk ice-armored beast that looked very fierce was blown away like it was a puppet, crushing a huge chunk of iceberg and then sliding on the ice for a dozen feet, plowing deeply in the snow. Blood was everywhere and the beast stopped moving. Young Manly froze up, staring at Han Sen as if she was looking at the ghost. She did not move for a long while in the storm, killing a berserk ice-armored beast with one blow. Young Manly could not believe that this person was Han Sen who had just become an evolver. Berserk ice-armored beast killed. Beast soul of berserk ice-armored beast gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 primitive geno points. Hearing the voice in his mind, Han Sen smiled. A beast soul gained from the first creature he killed in Second God's Sanctuary. This was definitely a good sign. Young Manly, I did not expect you would be here as well. Is there a special squad here? Han Sen did not mind the body of the beast and asked young Manly. Young Manly had just come to herself, looking at Han Sen and the body of the beast, and said, Before you come, I am the only special squad member. When I just heard you are here, I did not believe it. It turns out you are really in this shithole as well. You know where this is. What is the closest human shelter? Han Sen asked. That was what he really wanted to know. I don't know. I don't even know where in Second God's Sanctuary we are. At least so far. No one was able to walk out of here to find other people. Young Manly shook her head and said, This place is all right. If there are not a lot of people, no one could steal creatures from us. Han Sen shrugged and walked to the body of the berserk ice-armored beast. But first you need to. Young Manly was trying to say that you first need to kill the creature, but thinking of Han Sen's punch, she swallowed the rest of her sentence back. Han Sen summoned the golden growler, put the body of the ice-armored beast on its back and then rode on it himself. He waved to young Manly and asked, Is there any place nearby that we could hide from the storm? Let's take a break and eat some meat. Young Manly hesitated, but jumped on the golden growler's back, guiding Han Sen to a cave nearby. Han Sen dissected the ice-armored beast's body with the cursed wolf dagger, took out the tools to make fire, and started to barbecue some meat with a beast's soul arrow as the skewer. He used a pot for making soup as well. Did he really just evolve? Young Manly was still thinking of the punch Han Sen used to kill the berserk ice-armored beast. As a sacred evolver, she could not achieve that at all. Even she punched the beast 100 times, there was no way she could kill a berserk ice-armored beast. Have you heard of the name Han Jingshai? Han Sen looked at Young Manly and asked casually. Hearing the name, Young Manly's expression suddenly changed. Although she quickly came back to normal, Han Sen still noticed it. Which Han Jingjai? Young Manly frowned and asked. Instructor Han Jingjai of Blue Blood Special Force, the Qigong Master, Han Sen replied. You know about Han Jingjai? Young Manly expression changed again. She was surprised that Han Sen knew the name Han Jingjai. So, she knows about Han Jingjai as well. Han Sen thought and said quietly, my great-grandfather is also named Han Jingjai. What? Instructor Han is your great-grandfather? That is impossible. Young Manly exclaimed. What's with the reaction? I only said my great-grandfather's name is Han Jingjai, but I did not say he is that instructor of Blue Blood Special Force. Han Sen smiled at Young Manly. Young Manly suddenly became silent, watching Han Sen while biting her lips. If Han Sen was really the descendant of Han Jingjai, it was not strange that he had that kind of power. However, in Young Manly's eyes, it was simply impossible, given that Han Jingjai did not have any children to begin with. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.